Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Six Path Weeb. Today, we're diving into Under Jiraiya's Wing, a Naruko AU, Part 2. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer, the content on this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos, full credit goes to the original creators and copyright holders. Let's jump right in. Naruko woke up with excitement. Today was the day she would go to the academy and be assigned to her Genin team. She hurriedly got ready when a gentle knock echoed from her door. "I wonder who that could be?" Naruko said aloud. Opening the door, she found Jiraiya standing there, accompanied by the third Hokage. The third Hokage smiled warmly. He had just finished a council meeting about Naruko's return to the village. Some members were less than pleased, but they had kept their objections to themselves. Flashback. "Why have you called us here so early in the morning?" one of the village council members asked. "I've called the council to inform you that Naruko Uzumaki has returned to the village," Hiruzen announced. The room went silent. Teams had been sent to find Naruko, and now she had returned on her own, unnoticed. Danzo spoke first. "I assume you will tell us where she has been for the past 3 years?" Jiraiya stepped forward. "She has been training with me. I took responsibility since it seemed no one else was helping her develop her skills." Hiruzen raised a hand to prevent further questions. He did this on his own initiative, but as a Sannin, he has the privilege to train whomever he chooses, as long as the other party agrees. "Yes, and Naruko was eager to accept my training," Jiraiya added. No one could object. The council knew the Sannin title came with certain privileges. One council member asked hesitantly, "Why wasn't Sasuke Uchiha trained instead? Surely he has great potential." Jiraiya replied lightly, "I doubt it." Hiruzen concluded the meeting. "Now that you are aware of Naruko's return, unless there is further discussion, we will adjourn." Even Hiashi had a fleeting look of displeasure before returning to his usual composed expression. End of flashback. Hiruzen was surprised by the minimal fuss over Naruko's return, although he had not mentioned that she was to take the ninja exams. Jiraiya glanced at Naruko's apartment. It was modest and in need of some care. He made a mental note to help improve it later. "So, what brings you both here?" Naruko asked, smiling at the third Hokage and Jiraiya. "We just finished the council meeting," Jiraiya replied. "We thought we'd accompany you to the academy to make sure everything goes smoothly with the exams." "Oh, great. Let me grab my things," Naruko said cheerfully and dashed off. 2 minutes later, she returned in a bright orange jumpsuit. Together, the three of them walked through the streets of Konoha. Jiraiya and Hiruzen noticed the stares she received. The atmosphere was tense, but Naruko didn't seem bothered at all. "Don't you care that everyone is staring?" Jiraiya asked. "Not really," Naruko said. "I've been used to it for so long that it doesn't bother me anymore." Jiraiya smiled. "Naruko, if you're going to be a ninja, we should get you a new outfit. That jumpsuit is a bit loud." "But I like it," Naruko protested. "No arguments. We're getting you something new before the academy," Jiraiya said firmly. Naruko sighed but agreed. The three visited the town's best ninja clothing store. Initially, the owner was about to protest, but he fell silent when Jiraiya and Hiruzen entered. "The young ninja will be purchasing clothes from your store," Jiraiya instructed. The owner nodded and quickly complied. Naruko picked out navy blue pants and 2 black shirts, one long-sleeved and one short-sleeved. "Can I get these?" she asked. Jiraiya checked the price. It was a bit expensive, but he didn't mind as long as Naruko had a proper outfit. "I'll also have a long-sleeve shirt made with a red whirlpool design on the back, like my jumpsuit," she added. The store owner reluctantly agreed. Jiraiya suggested they wait while it was made. "Exams don't end until noon," Hiruzen noted, sitting on a nearby bench. At the academy. Iruka was giving his final lecture. The students were attentive, though Hinata was daydreaming, unusually cheerful compared to previous days. "All right, class, we'll begin the finals. You will each create as many clones as possible, then perform a transformation jutsu. Who will go first?" Iruka asked. Sasuke stepped forward, wanting to complete the task quickly. He performed the hand signs, producing 5 perfect clones. Then, he transformed into Iruka. "Excellent, Sasuke. You pass," Iruka said. Ino and Sakura cheered quietly for their friend. With Naruko. Naruko received her new clothes and couldn't contain her excitement. She wore navy blue pants and a black long-sleeved shirt with the red whirlpool design. Jiraiya chuckled. She looks just like her old mentor now. All she needs is a cloak. Hiruzen whispered, how do you think she'll react when we tell her? Hopefully well. I just hope she isn't upset with us, Jiraiya replied. Naruko ran over, come on. Let's go already. The three of them appeared at her old classroom. Hey, everyone. Naruko called out. The class was momentarily stunned. Silence filled the room, an unusual sight. Kiba finally broke the silence. You're not wearing your old orange jumpsuit, he exclaimed. Was it really that noticeable? Naruko muttered. Iruka approached, smiling. Welcome back, Naruko. Where have you been for the past 3 years? She's been training with me, Jiraiya said. Oh, Master Jiraiya. So you've been guiding her this whole time? Iruka asked. Yes. She's grown very strong, Jiraiya replied. Sasuke frowned but Naruko ignored him, which only frustrated him further. Hiruzen inquired, will she be ready for the finals today? Yes. She's trained well with Jiraiya, so it should be simple, Iruka assured him. Naruko's eyes sparkled. Alright. What do I need to do? Show me how many clones you can make and perform a transformation jutsu, Iruka explained. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, Naruko shouted, and a cloud of smoke filled the room. Hidden within the cloud, she discreetly passed a note to Hinata. When the smoke cleared, the classroom was filled with Naruko's clones, covering every seat, wall, and even the ceiling. Iruka stared in amazement. Shadow clones. He thought. Hinata glanced down at her lap and noticed a note Naruko had left for her. Curiously, she opened it. Meet me at Training Ground 15 around 4 p.m., the note read. Her cheeks flushed with excitement, and she quickly tucked it away before anyone could notice. Naruko had dismissed her shadow clones and was now ready to demonstrate a transformation jutsu. With a swirl of chakra, she transformed into the fourth Hokage. Iruka was taken aback, he hadn't realized just how closely the two resembled each other until this very moment. Well, Naruko, I have to say, you executed that perfectly. Iruka announced, tossing her a headband. Wait. Why does she get special recognition? Sasuke exclaimed. Jiraiya chuckled. Really, Sasuke? You're going to question recognition for effort now? The classroom erupted in laughter. Everyone knew Sasuke often received attention, but this moment was clearly deserved. Iruka cleared his throat to regain control. Tomorrow, you'll meet your new teams. He was interrupted by Hiruzen. Actually, Iruka, I have the team assignments right here, Hiruzen said, handing over the list. Oh, let's do this now. Team 7, Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, and Sakura Haruno. Your Jounin sensei is Kakashi Hatake, Iruka read aloud. Sakura cheered, while Kiba and Ino groaned, each for their own obvious reasons. Team 8, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, and Naruko Uzumaki. Your Jounin sensei is Kurenai Yuhi, Iruka continued. Naruko smiled, Shino nodded, and Hinata nearly fainted at the thought of being on the same team as her crush. Team 10, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, and Ino Yamanaka. Your Jounin sensei is Asuma Sarutobi, Iruka concluded. Why aren't we Team 9, Iruka sensei? Ino asked. Team 9 is still active, Iruka explained. Now that the teams are announced, I'll call your Jounin sensei today instead of tomorrow. You all may have lunch and use the time to get to know your teammates. With that, he dismissed the class. Well, Naruko, the old man and I will leave you to it. We have other matters to attend to today, Jiraiya said. Naruko nodded in acknowledgement. Naruko walked over to Shino and Hinata, who had moved to sit together. How about we grab a bite and chat, since we'll be on the same team? Naruko suggested. I'd like that, Shino replied calmly. Hinata's cheeks turned pink. Sure. That sounds good. Ramen sounds perfect. I know a great spot, Naruko said. Both Hinata and Shino nodded enthusiastically. Great. Let's go. The three of them walked through the village streets. Villagers they passed looked at Naruko with uneasy expressions. Shino glanced at her. Naruko, why do they seem upset with you? Naruko shrugged lightly. I'll explain another time. Understanding this was a sensitive topic, Shino let it go. They reached the familiar ramen stand, unchanged since Naruko's last visit. She ran up to greet Ayame and Tucci. It's been so long. And look at you now, Tucci exclaimed joyfully. Hello, Naruko. And who are your friends? Ayame asked warmly. Naruko smiled. I've been training, and these are my new teammates. The group sat down. Shino and Hinata ordered bowls of miso ramen, while Naruko ordered several, making Tucci laugh as he prepared the dishes. Ayame leaned in curiously. Shino, you're part of the Aburame clan? Shino nodded. Yes. We use bugs in our techniques, keeping them within us as part of our abilities. Wow, that's amazing, Naruko exclaimed. Hinata, slightly uneasy, asked, doesn't that feel uncomfortable? Shino smiled behind his coat. I was asleep during the process, so it didn't hurt. It's actually quite practical. Just then, a man approached and began to make a ruckus. Before anything escalated, Tucci calmly but firmly intervened, causing the man to retreat. Naruko thanked him quietly. Their orders arrived, steaming and fragrant. Finally. Ramen. I haven't had this since I left for my training, Naruko exclaimed happily. As they began to eat, Kurenai Yuhi, their new Jounin sensei, appeared. Hinata, there you are. Hinata jumped up and hugged her excitedly. Naruko gestured to the ramen. Sensei, you should join us. Thank you, I will, Kurenai said, taking a seat. So, Naruko, I heard you trained with the Toad Sage, Kurenai began, curious. Yes. It was an incredible experience, Naruko replied with a grin. Did you enjoy the training? Absolutely. My Obakuzen was amazing, and the toads were great teachers. Kurenai looked at the clock. For today, just relax. Tomorrow, I will have your final test ready. Final test? We just completed our academy test, Naruko said, finishing another bowl. This test is from your Jounin sensei, me, Kurenai replied with a smile. Naruko nodded. Alright. What do we do until then? Spend the day enjoying the village and getting to know each other, Kurenai suggested. After paying for the ramen, the group stood and began to walk through the village. See you tomorrow, Tucci and Ayame. We'll be back. Naruko called with a wide smile. Naruko hasn't changed at all, Ayame said. No, she's grown a lot and matured, Tucci agreed, smiling as he returned to his work. With Kakashi. Kakashi leapt gracefully across the rooftops. He had just finished coordinating with his new team. He didn't mind Sakura or Kiba too much, but Sasuke seemed preoccupied with thoughts of justice for his family. Kakashi had known Itachi for years, yet the older boy's choices remained a mystery. It was perplexing, but there was nothing to be done about it now. He was uncertain about mentoring Sasuke, but his responsibilities left him no choice. Still, it reminded him somewhat of his own past with Obito, though he disliked admitting it. Kakashi had heard that Naruko had returned to the village, and he felt a twinge of frustration that Jiraiya hadn't informed him sooner. It often felt as if he was left out of things that mattered most to him. He hoped to have the opportunity to train Naruko soon, once Jiraiya gave his approval. Kakashi paused when he spotted Naruko chatting with her teammates. The four of them seemed to get along well. He glanced at the villagers who occasionally stared at Naruko, marveling at her resilience. Anyone else might find it overwhelming. Kakashi exhaled softly. I'll just speak with Naruko later. She seems to be enjoying herself, he murmured, before turning to tend to some paperwork. With Naruko. Naruko had just said goodbye to her teammates for the day. She planned to meet Hinata at 4 o'clock, though no one else was aware of her plans. She smiled as she walked toward her apartment to prepare. Though she still had some time, she wanted to tidy up her apartment, as she had been putting it off. Once inside, Naruko began cleaning when Kyuubi's voice resonated in her mind. Quite the thoughtful friend you've chosen, young one, the Kyuubi remarked. What do you mean, friend? Naruko asked, puzzled. I mean someone special in your life, someone who may one day be very important to you, the Kyuubi explained calmly, prompting Naruko to pause. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. But now that you mention it, I suppose it's possible, Naruko replied, feeling slightly reflective. Life will offer you choices, some difficult, some easy, but each one matters. When the time comes, choose with care, the Kyuubi advised in a gentle tone. Naruko thought about it for a moment, then shrugged. She focused back on her preparations, checking the clock. It was 30 minutes until she had to meet Hinata at training ground 15. With Hinata. Hinata sat in her room, feeling slightly disheartened. Passing by the dojo, she had seen her father praise her younger sister for her diligence. She longed for someone to confide in, though showing weakness was frowned upon. She glanced at the clock, it was 20 minutes until 4. Pulling herself together, she climbed out her window, knowing that as long as she returned by 8, no one would mind her absence. At training ground 15, she saw Naruko leaning casually against a tree. "Hi, Hinata-chan." Naruko called, her face lighting up at the sight of her friend. Hinata's mood brightened immediately. "Hello, Naruko." She replied, walking toward her. "I'm sorry, I can't take you out to eat right now," Naruko said gently. Hinata noticed Naruko fidgeting and holding something behind her back. "What's that you're hiding, Naruko?" Hinata asked curiously. Naruko revealed a small bouquet. The first flower, a white gardenia, symbolized secret admiration, reflecting the early stages of their friendship. A white rose followed, representing purity and kindness, perfectly embodying Hinata's gentle spirit. Lastly, a few purple lilacs, signifying new bonds and growing affection, completed the arrangement. "I read that flowers can convey special meanings. So I wanted to pick the right ones for you," Naruko said, her voice tinged with nervous excitement. Hinata smiled, taking the bouquet. She understood their meanings and gently leaned in, placing a friendly kiss on Naruko's cheek. "Thank you, Naruko. They're wonderful," Hinata said warmly. Naruko blushed at her friend's reaction. They settled beneath the tree, and Hinata rested against Naruko with a content sigh. They could have stayed there peacefully for hours. In the Hokage Tower. "Come on. Just tell her how you feel already," Jiraiya shouted enthusiastically into the crystal ball. Hiruzen entered his office and sighed. "Stop watching Naruko and Hinata, Jiraiya. She has enough to focus on without your interference. And do not use them for material in your next book." Jiraiya's expression turned innocent. "Why would I do that? Do I need to list the reasons? Are you hoping to witness a moment of friendship blossom?" Hiruzen asked. "Well, maybe a little," Jiraiya admitted. Hiruzen shook his head with a small smile. Some things never changed about Jiraiya, but sometimes that was charming in its own way. An hour had passed since Naruko and Hinata had met at training ground 15, and they were still sitting beneath the shade of a large tree. Hinata had her arms gently resting on Naruko's, her head leaning softly against her shoulder. Neither of them wanted the day to end, but they knew they would need to leave soon, before anyone came looking for them. Naruko stood up and offered her hand. Hinata blushed and accepted it with a small smile. "I'm sorry, Hinata. I know it wasn't the most extravagant outing," Naruko said, a little disappointed that she couldn't take Hinata somewhere special. "That's all right, Naruko. I still enjoyed spending time with you," Hinata replied warmly. "Next time, we could have a picnic or something," Naruko suggested. "I just haven't had the chance to prepare anything since I got back." Hinata's smile brightened. "That sounds wonderful, Naruko." With a cheerful hug, Hinata ran off toward her home, feeling truly happy. Naruko lingered for a moment, watching her go, before heading toward her apartment with a light heart. Naruko was eating a late breakfast. She had a rather restless night. "How can I take her out on a proper date?" Naruko sighed, returning to her instant ramen. "You surprise me. You can be extremely intelligent one moment, and quite oblivious the next," Kyubi remarked. "What do you mean?" Naruko asked, not in the mood for an argument so early in the morning. "You learned the Rasengan at age 11, yet you can't figure out a solution to something as simple as this," Kyubi replied. "All right, tell me then, what's the answer?" Naruko asked, a hint of sarcasm in her tone. Kyubi sighed. "It's simple. Ask the toads," the fox said as if it were obvious. "I'm still confused. How would they help me?" Naruko asked, puzzled. "I'll spell it out for you. Ask the toads if you and Hinata could visit my Obakuzen for your outing. They like you, and such a request is unlikely to be denied," Kyubi explained plainly. "That's a brilliant idea, Fuzzball. I could hug you," Naruko exclaimed. "I'd prefer you didn't, but I wouldn't mind a change of scenery. Spending nearly 13 years in a confined space isn't ideal," Kyubi said. "Not sure how to do it, but I'll try," Naruko responded. She closed her eyes and focused on removing the walls around them. The walls, along with Kyubi's enclosure, slowly disappeared. Soon, everything except a black void was gone. "Pretty good, kid. Now create something simple, like a field," Kyubi suggested. Naruko pictured a field, and the void transformed into a wide grassy meadow. Thinking it was too plain, she concentrated again, and a massive tree emerged at the center, dwarfing Kyubi completely. "Now that's more like it," Kyubi said, settling under the enormous tree. "Why are you helping me anyway, Fuzzball? Naruko asked. Why? Well, a few reasons, Kyubi said. You going to explain? Naruko prompted. First, I'm bound to you by the seal. Second, you intrigue me, which is rare. To make your life easier and mine more enjoyable here, I decided to lend a hand occasionally, Kyubi explained. Naruko sighed. You're strange, Fuzzball, she muttered. You wear bright orange, and you call me strange? The fox teased. Alright, you got me there, Naruko replied. Checking the time, Naruko realized she had only 30 minutes to reach the training ground. She changed into her usual outfit and headed out. At training ground 5. Hinata was sitting under a large tree, humming as she waited for her teammates. She had spent last night pressing the flowers Naruko had given her. Slightly tired, she was still eager for whatever Kurenai had planned. Shino and Naruko approached Hinata, discussing the many uses of Shino's insects. The three waved to each other and sat down under the tree. So, what do you think Kurenai-sensei has in mind for our test? Hinata asked. Good question. I was wondering the same, Shino replied. Naruko shrugged. Don't know. Hope it isn't too dull, she said. They chatted about Shino's insects and the abilities of the Hyuga clan. 15 minutes later, Kurenai Yuhi appeared. Good to see you all working together, Kurenai said. Naruko jumped up. So, what's the test? She asked excitedly. You three will try to locate and tag me. You have 3 hours, and your test begins. Now, Kurenai said, disappearing in a puff of smoke. Since we need to find her first, Hinata, can you use your Byakugan? Shino suggested. Hinata nodded. Byakugan. She began scanning the area. With Kakashi. Kakashi sighed after securing Kiba to a post. He explained the purpose of his test and gave the team a final chance to act cohesively or return to the academy. Of course, he was bluffing. I wonder how well Naruko is managing with her team, Kakashi thought, walking away to give them space. With Team 8. Team 8 was pursuing Kurenai through the forest. They had nearly caught her before she used a clever trick to mislead them. Shino, go left. I'll go right. Hinata, continue tracking her. We'll set a trap, Naruko instructed. Hinata nodded. Shino and Naruko went in their directions. They split up to anticipate me, Kurenai thought, leaping through the treetops. Naruko smiled. Shadow clone jutsu. 20 clones appeared and quickly dispersed once the smoke cleared. They knew exactly what to do. Shino deployed his insects, waiting for the right moment, while Hinata tracked Kurenai with her Byakugan. 15 minutes later, Naruko and Shino were in position, hidden in the shadows. Kurenai remained unaware, enjoying the challenge. A clone appeared behind Shino. She's coming. Get ready, it said before vanishing. Shino prepared his insects, and Naruko waited to act. Kurenai jumped into a clearing, only to find 20 Naruko clones surrounding her as Shino's insects swooped from above. The teamwork was excellent, exactly the point of the exercise. Hinata joined seconds later, executing the plan flawlessly. She was tired, though, lacking the stamina of Naruko and Shino. Excellent. You three performed far beyond what I expected from New Jinan. You achieved the main goal of the test, Kurenai said. Naruko blinked. Wait, what about the last part? She asked, glancing at Shino and Hinata. You weren't expected to tag a jounin right away. The main point was to observe your teamwork. You tracked me for over an hour, adapted when you couldn't rely on speed, and created a trap, Kurenai explained, pointing to Shino's insects and the Naruko clones. Then why mention subduing you? Shino asked. As shinobi, you must learn to see beyond deception to find the truth, Kurenai said. Hinata collapsed on the grass, exhausted. Did we pass? With flying colors, Hinata, Kurenai replied. Naruko jumped into the air, flashing victory signs with her fingers. Hinata smiled, and Shino, though silent as always, grinned beneath his coat. Naruko's energy was infectious. With Kakashi. It was 2 in the afternoon, and Kakashi had just finished reviewing his new team. They still have a lot to learn, he said with a soft sigh. Down the street, Kakashi noticed Team 8 talking among themselves. His gaze lingered on Naruko, who was receiving curious glances from others. I wonder if they'll ever see her for who she truly is, he thought quietly. Kakashi's thoughts were interrupted when Kurenai approached him. So, Kakashi-senpai, how is your team doing? She asked. Couldn't be better, he replied, though his tone didn't match his words. Kurenai gave a small sigh. Would you mind if I spoke with you for a moment? The three young genin nodded and headed toward the ramen stand. I'm not really in the mood to discuss it right now, Kurenai, Kakashi admitted. Oh, come on. I'll even let you take me out to dinner, she said playfully, not expecting him to agree. Kakashi paused to consider. He hadn't gone on a date in quite some time. Kurenai was around his age and very attractive. He had long wanted to ask her out but had always been too preoccupied with the past to find the courage. All right, it's a date then, Kakashi said. Kurenai's eyes widened in surprise. What? All right. Pick me up at 5, she stammered, a blush spreading across her cheeks. I'm just as nervous as Hinata, she thought, stepping away. Her blush deepened as she walked off. She had always admired him, yet only Rin had ever shared a close bond with him before. With Team 8. The team had just started enjoying their ramen when Hiruzen appeared and sat beside Naruko. Hello, Hiruzen-sama. What brings you here? Naruko asked cheerfully, taking a large bite of ramen. I wanted to check on how well your test went, Hiruzen replied, ordering a bowl of miso ramen with pork. It went great. Right, guys? Naruko exclaimed. Her teammates nodded enthusiastically. That's wonderful. I'm glad to see everyone working well together, Hiruzen said warmly. Kurenai approached the stand with a smile. Good afternoon, Hokage-sama, she greeted politely. How did the team do? Hiruzen asked. They did excellently. They passed with flying colors, Kurenai replied, sitting down beside him. See? Told you, Naruko said proudly, enjoying her ramen. Kurenai raised an eyebrow at the casual way Naruko addressed the Hokage. Naruko, please show some respect, she advised gently. Hiruzen chuckled, waving it off. It's all right, Kurenai. Naruko has been calling me that for quite some time. Across the street, a small figure crouched in an alleyway, preparing to dash forward. I've got you this time, Hiruzen-sama, Konohamaru shouted, sprinting. Halfway there, he tripped on his long scarf and stumbled, accidentally bumping into Naruko, causing a small mess with her ramen. Hinata couldn't help but giggle. Naruko lifted her face from the bowl, shaking her head in exasperation. Konohamaru, be careful, she said firmly, though her expression hinted at amusement rather than anger. Ebisu appeared beside them. Please be mindful of others. He reminded gently. Naruko rolled her eyes playfully. I understand, but watch your step next time, she replied with a smile. Hiruzen chuckled at the lively scene, shaking his head at the playful chaos. I have to get back to work now, Hiruzen said, standing. All right, see you soon. Naruko called cheerfully. Hiruzen paused. Still dreaming of becoming Hokage, Naruko? Absolutely. She replied enthusiastically. Excellent, he said with a smile, heading toward his office. Naruko waved to her friends. See you all tomorrow, she said as she paid for the ramen. Bye, Naruko. Hinata squeaked, waving. Kurenai glanced at the clock. I have less than 2 hours to get ready, she thought. We'll meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. for our next mission, she told her students, hurrying away. I've never seen Kurenai-sensei like that before, Hinata murmured. Shino finished his ramen and waved goodbye to Hinata before heading home. Hinata sighed softly, she wanted to talk with Naruko, if only a little. With that, she also left. With Kakashi. Back at home, Kakashi rummaged through his closet. He realized he had no formal clothes, only his onbu and jounin attire. I guess I'll need to buy something nice for my date with Kurenai, he muttered, checking the time. Less than 2 hours remained. With Kurenai. Kurenai was frantically searching her closet for the perfect outfit. She held 4 options in her hands while 8 more lay neatly on her bed. She couldn't decide what to wear. Dating for the first time made her unusually nervous. I don't want anything too revealing, she thought as she carefully put away 2 of the outfits. For the next 30 minutes, Kurenai scrutinized each choice until she was left with only 2 options. One was a dark red strapless dress that reached mid-thigh, elegantly showcasing her figure. The other was a more casual ensemble, snug jeans paired with a red tank top. I think I'll go with the dress, she finally decided, feeling a sense of relief. With Hinata. Hinata had taken her time returning home, savoring the excitement of spending time with her new team. She wasn't eager to return to the Hyuga estate just yet. As she arrived, She stood outside the compound next to two branch members. "Good afternoon, Hinata-sama. I hope your test went well," one guard greeted politely. Hinata smiled warmly. "Yes, it did. Thank you," she replied. Among the branch members, Hinata's well-being was a priority. She was the only main house member they truly cared for, as she had always treated them with kindness and respect. Sighing softly, Hinata walked past the guards and made her way straight to her room, passing her father and little sister Hanabi. Her father didn't acknowledge her presence, but Hanabi turned with a gentle smile. Hinata appreciated that her sister hadn't adopted their father's reserved demeanor completely. When she reached her room, Hinata noticed something tucked beneath her sheets. She picked up a small note that simply read, 5 p.m., Hokage Monument. She smiled to herself. Naruko. She thought. She quickly set the note aside and went to take a shower, knowing she had about an hour before meeting Naruko. With Naruko. Naruko sat on her bed, deep in conversation with the fox spirit within her. "Tell her already, child," the fox urged. "No." Naruko responded firmly. "Are you really going to keep it a secret forever?" the fox asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes. I'm nervous," Naruko admitted, looking down in a mixture of embarrassment and anticipation. The fox was silent for a moment. She hadn't expected that answer. Naruko wasn't afraid of him, her hesitation stemmed from worry about how Hinata would respond. Glancing at the clock, Naruko realized she had 20 minutes to prepare for the meeting at the Hokage Monument. She also needed to speak with Fukasaku about a particular favor. Performing the hand signs for summoning, she called out, "Summoning Jutsu." A puff of smoke revealed Fukasaku, the wise toad sage. "I need a favor," Naruko began. Fukasaku, who usually disliked being summoned, made an exception for her. Naruko's energy and optimism had earned the old sage's trust and admiration. "Could I take Hinata on a trip to Myobakuzen?" Naruko asked directly. "That's an unusual request," Fukasaku replied thoughtfully. "Why not within the village?" Naruko explained her reasoning carefully. Fukasaku, impressed by her sincerity, agreed. "All right, Naruko. I'll help with your request. We'll go over the details later, but I'd like to meet this girl you speak of," he said. "Thank you so much," Naruko exclaimed, giving Fukasaku a warm hug. Once Fukasaku disappeared, Naruko prepared quickly. She even summoned a shadow clone to discreetly fetch flowers for Hinata using a transformation jutsu. With Kakashi. Kakashi adjusted his black dress pants and dark blue shirt, feeling a little out of place in civilian attire. He hadn't worn something like this in years. People noticed him as he approached Kurenai's apartment, and some young women whispered to each other, wondering who he might be meeting. Kakashi, however, was focused. He noticed he was holding half a dozen red rosebuds in his hand, symbolizing innocence, beauty, and a sincere heart. He hoped Kurenai would appreciate them. Arriving at her door, he took a deep breath and knocked. Kurenai answered quickly, noticing how well he had dressed. "You look very handsome, Kakashi," she said, a warm blush coloring her cheeks. Kakashi, momentarily speechless, handed her the flowers. "These are for you. I thought they might express what I can't quite put into words." Kurenai smiled and kissed him on the cheek before arranging the rosebuds in water. The flowers, like their budding relationship, seemed ready to bloom. When she returned to the door, Kakashi was patiently waiting. "Shall we go?" he asked, offering his arm. Kurenai smiled and took it. Together, they walked toward the part of the village where the restaurants were, ready to enjoy their special day. On the Hokage Monument. Naruko was waiting for Hinata to arrive. She hoped her friend had received the message. She didn't have to wait long. Hinata soon appeared, walking with a gentle smile. Naruko beamed. "Hey, Hinata-chan," she greeted warmly, holding a bouquet of flowers behind her back. She presented the orchids to Hinata, whose eyes lit up. Hinata loved orchids and was familiar with their symbolism: love, beauty, elegance, and graceful charm. "Thank you so much," Hinata said, blushing as she gave Naruko a quick, friendly kiss on the cheek. Naruko felt a little shy, about to respond, when a sudden voice called out behind them. It was Fukasaku. "Ah, Naruko. And this must be Hinata," Fukasaku said with a cheerful nod. Hinata jumped back slightly, startled. "It can talk," she exclaimed, peeking cautiously from behind Naruko. Naruko chuckled softly. "Don't worry, Hinata. Remember I told you about my training at Myobakuzen?" Hinata nodded, still hiding a little. Yes, I remember, she said. Well, Myobakuzen is where the Toad clan lives. I was wondering if you'd like to visit with me sometime, Naruko suggested. It's a very beautiful place, Fukasaku added with a smile. I'm sure you'll enjoy spending your time there. Naruko hesitated, thinking she hadn't yet explained this to Hinata properly. I wanted to tell her myself, old friend, she murmured, a bit embarrassed. Fukasaku chuckled. Well, now she knows. Turning to Hinata with a hopeful smile, Naruko asked, so, what do you think? Would you like to come with me? Hinata's face lit up. Of course. I'd love that, she exclaimed, wrapping her arms around Naruko in a warm hug. Fukasaku nodded approvingly. Wonderful. It will take some time to prepare the scroll for the reverse summoning. I'll send Gamakichi once it's ready, he explained. Thank you for everything, Naruko said gratefully. Of course, Fukasaku replied, disappearing in a gentle puff of smoke. Naruko and Hinata settled on the Hokage monument, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Hinata felt a mix of excitement and nerves at the thought of visiting Myobakuzen, a place neither she nor her family had ever experienced before. With Kakashi and Kurenai. Kakashi and Kurenai had just finished a delightful dinner. If you asked either of them, they would say it was truly enjoyable. During their meal, they shared stories about their likes and hobbies, and the evening passed with laughter and warmth. After leaving the restaurant, they walked down the street without any particular destination, enjoying the gentle night air. So, Kurenai, how is Team 8 doing? Kakashi asked as he casually placed his arm around her shoulder. Kurenai smiled and blushed slightly. They're doing wonderfully. Everyone works well together, and Naruko is even stronger than she lets on, she said. That's good to hear, Kakashi replied with a nod. And how is your team? Kurenai asked. Kakashi let out a small sigh. It's a bit challenging. One of them gets easily excited, and the others aren't always on the same page, he admitted. Kurenai rested her head lightly on his shoulder. That's all right. They'll learn to cooperate with time, she reassured him. Kakashi gave a small, thoughtful sigh. I hope so, he murmured, a hint of worry in his voice. At a local cafe. Anko, Asuma, and Iruka were reviewing reports at a quiet cafe. Anko's eyes wandered to the window, and she thought she saw Kakashi in casual clothes and Kurenai in a flowing dress. Hey, look outside. Can you see that too? She asked, nudging the others. Ah, it's Kakashi and Kurenai, Asuma said, drawing their attention. Iruka smiled. About time she got to enjoy life a little, he remarked, earning a nod from Anko and Asuma. Anko tried to get up, but Iruka gently held her back. Not yet, we still need to finish our work, he said. Anko laughed softly. All right. Let's focus on the reports then, she said. The three continued their work, glancing occasionally at the lively street outside. With Kakashi and Kurenai. Eventually, Kakashi and Kurenai found themselves in front of her apartment, though they had wandered aimlessly through winding streets and alleys. Thank you for such a wonderful evening, Kakashi, Kurenai said, smiling warmly. With a shy gesture, she leaned closer and pressed a gentle kiss on his lips. Kakashi returned the gesture, wrapping his arms around her. The moment lingered before Kurenai pulled back, cheeks glowing. How long have you wanted to do that? Kurenai asked with a playful smile. All evening, Kakashi admitted softly. I'll see you tomorrow, Kakashi, Kurenai said as she stepped inside her apartment and closed the door behind her. Inside, her eyes fell on the rose buds she had placed in water earlier. They were now halfway open, delicate and beautiful. On the Hokage monument. Night had settled over the village, and Hinata had drifted asleep while leaning gently against Naruko on the Hokage monument. Naruko smiled softly. I should get her home safely, she thought. Carrying Hinata carefully, Naruko leapt gracefully across the rooftops toward the Hyuga residence. The quiet of the night ensured they were unseen, and within minutes, they arrived. Naruko found a moment when the guards were distracted and quickly guided Hinata to her room. She settled her on the bed and carefully tucked the blanket around her. Naruko bent down and whispered with a warm smile, "Good night, Hinata-chan," before quietly leaving the room. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more adventures. Warm regards. 6 Path Weeb.